Rambam. We're in the book of Kedusha, of holiness. We finished the laws of relationships. Now we go into the other area of holiness, and that's food. Okay.
I don't think I've seen Donald Trump speak so clear.
All right. Oops. Okay. Let's. Excuse me. Rambam. Ma'acholos asurais, forbidden foods. In the other area of holiness. Chapter 5. According to the oral tradition, we learn that the intent of the Torah statement, do not partake of the soul together with the meat, is to forbid a limb cut off a living animal. With regard to the limb cut off from a living animal, it was said to Noah. But right, this is the seventh of the 7 Noahide laws, right? 6 actually were told to Adam, and the seventh is told to Noah. So it was said, but the flesh, together with the soul, its blood, you may not eat. The prohibition against partaking of a limb from a living animal applies to kosher domesticated animals, wild beasts, fowl, but not to non-kosher species. That's interesting.
But with non-Jews, no, what? That it had to be kosher animals as opposed to non.
That's what I'm trying to see is this is the law for a Jew. For a non-Jew, I'm not certain, not clear. Because a Jew can't have non-kosher species to begin with, right? Right. So that's what I'm thinking that this. I think we will learn this later, the 7 Noahide laws. 1 second, we learned them. Oh, no, it'll be late. Yeah, I mean, we learned them. We're going to have them again. Yeah. So this is Jewish law, not for non-Jew. Yeah. Halacha number 2. The term ever translated as limb, aver, ever. In the Hebrew, it's aver. Translated as limb applies both to the limb that has flesh, sinews, and bones, a hand or a foot or an organ that does not have a bone, the tongue, testicles, spleen, and kidneys, and the heart, and the like. So, in other words, that you can't take anything from a living animal, any of those things, right? Because we're aver, a limb, so a limb usually means with a bone. Tongue doesn't have a bone, right? Testicles don't have bones. But it applies to those things too. There is, however, one difference. When an organ does not possess a bone, the prohibition against partaking of the limb from a living animal applies whether one cut off the entire organ, only a part. When by contrast, a limb possesses a bone, a person is not liable for violating the prohibition against a limb from a living animal unless he separates it in its complete state when it has a bone, with its flesh, sinews, and bones. If, however, it only removes flesh from the living animal, he's not liable for the prohibition against partaking of the trait animal, as explained, and not because of the limb from the living animal. And because if you took flesh without the bone from that living animal, then you make that treif, the animal. So the prohibition is treif, that you're not a limb from a live animal. A limb from a live animal has to be with its bone, with its sinews, and so on, in order to be transgression. transgression of that prohibition. Okay. One is liable for lashes only for partaking of an olive-sized portion of a limb from a living animal. Right. As we have everything, in law, it has its parameter of what the violation is. Now, violation means prohibition, that you're liable for a consequence. Even if you don't get the consequence, that doesn't mean it's not prohibited. It's prohibited, but there is no consequence. Right? Important to take note of that. So even if one eats an entire limb or organ, if it is the size of an olive, then one is liable. If not, then he's exempt. If one cut off the olive-sized portion of flesh, sinews, and bones from an animal according to its natural form and ate it, one is liable, even if it possessed only the smallest amount of meat.
Sorry,
Why? We just said it. We just said, since one did not alter the natural form, one is liable for the bones and sinews as well. If, however, he once separated a limb, which he tore off from a living animal, and detached the flesh from the sinews and the meat, he's not liable for lashes unless he eats an olive-sized portion of the meat alone. The bones and sinews are not included in the olive-sized portion since he changed the limb natural form. Aha. Okay, that was the difference. Okay. All right. I just wanted to do something because I must run. All right. Thank you, folks. Wonderful. All right. Good to be back. Have a great day.